when we first start a business venture of any kind, we we have like information overload, into where we get to the point and it's like we feel like we have to continue to consume more and more information, but the information is not what moves the needle. The implementation is what moves the needle.
All right, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Badasses in Tech. Today, I'm joined by Dustin Lash. Dustin is the CEO and founder of Elite Academy. Dustin is also very much known for helping online fitness business owners and coaches scale their current business and 3x their current revenue. Before we dive into today's episode, I have some exciting news I need to share. If you're a business owner or professional or entrepreneur looking to skyrocket your growth through podcast creation, video production, or public relations support, we've got you covered. Connect with our team at Growth Stack Media. We're here to help you grow faster and more affordably. Visit growthstackmedia.com today to book a free consultation or reach out through our contact details in the show description. We can't wait to help you make your business even more badass. So welcome, Dustin. We are so happy to have you on Badasses in Tech.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate the connection, and I can't wait to share some value with your audience.
I can't wait either. So why don't we start off with a little bit about what prompted you to get started in your career journey? What do you think was that first pivotal moment for you to really unlock all that you've been able to accomplish?
Sure. Great question. So, I guess what really got me motivated into going in that direction was I was just your typical 9-to-5 worker. I worked blue collar forever, and I always had a passion for fitness. I didn't really know what to do with it other than, I worked out in the gym, stuff like that. Buddies, of course, they were like, hey, what workout should I do? Can you help me with fitness? And so I'm like, man, if all these people are asking me, like, how can I make money doing this?
Right.
So I had that conversation with my wife, and I'm like, I think I want to be a trainer. Like, I think I want to train people.
Yeah.
And so she goes, yeah, that's fine. If you're okay with it, I'm good with it. So I went, got certified, went to the gym, and that's kind of how the journey began for me, was just doing that. And so it was like, I quickly learned that the gym was not for me, capped for time, wasn't making near as much money as I thought I was going to be. And so that's when I started my online venture.
Very cool. And so you just mentioned you were kind of in a 9-to-5. Were you building this venture or exploring your passion while you were also carving out time for your 9-to-5? Was that happening in tandem?
So yeah, once I made that decision and I'm like, yeah, I want to become a fitness trainer, then it became like, what's the process that's going to take place? So I realized that I'm going to have to go to school. I have to get certified. So I was still working 5. It was like, I'm married, had 4 kids all at home at the time. So it's like, get off work and eat dinner for a little bit with the kids, hang out. And then it's like, start studying, doing that stuff. And it's tough, but you learn to prioritize yourself a little better. And that was the beginning stage of business for me, learning to schedule and prioritize my time. And that's where it started taking place, was having to juggle many activities in a tight schedule for sure.
I can imagine. And I mean, having that full-time job, having a family, carving out the time to pursue something that I'm sure was a big question mark. It could have gone one of two ways. It could have gone super well, or I'm sure you were wondering, oh my gosh, am I making the right decision? I have a family. So can you talk a little bit about how you were able to prioritize and how you were able to kind of push yourself to juggle all of those responsibilities? I'm sure that was a lot.
Sure. So I think the main transition occurred was, after I became an in-person trainer for a while. I was doing that for about 6 months. And like I said, I knew financially I wasn't going to be able to sustain the amount of money I was making.
Yeah.
And I was literally never home. I was in the gym at 4 p.m., in the gym at 7 p.m. And so I'm like, I didn't do this to be crunched for time. Like
Right.
I did, because I was passionate about it. What can I do to make this, more sustainable long term? So that's when I wanted to start looking into the online space. And so did a little research. I'm like, how can I, do the same thing except being able to do it from my house, do it from home?
Right.
So I started doing a little research, and Alex Hormozy had just came out with Gym Launch, and he made it a hybrid model. So he was helping gym owners and then fitness trainers that wanted to go online. So I dove into that, hired him as a mentor, started learning skills, right? And it's one of those things. It's like, so now what do? I had way more time on my hands, but I had to delegate it more toward the business, but at least I was able to do it from home. The number one roadblock in that was I got so hyper focused in just the business aspect of things that my 8 or 9 hour normal work day turned into 16 hours. And so I had a really tough conversation with my wife at the time. She's like, you live in your office, like we do not see you. This has to change. So what I did was I really dialed in my schedule. And what do I mean by schedule? I mean, a typical Google Calendar spreadsheet, and I wrote down my wake up to my fall asleep, and I scheduled everything by the hour. And once I did that, it was like, then I just had to focus on my quit time was my quit time. Like there was nothing that carried over. Like when it was time to work, I had to drop it all and I was done. And so once I started doing that, it's just like anything else, like building it to become habit.
Sure. The muscle.
It made everything
no pun intended.
Right. Made it all so much more sustainable. And like life became easier. And then like everybody was happy. I wasn't as stressed. I had more time with the kids, more time doing whatever it is that I wanted to do. But all of my, I like to call them money-making activities were being taken care of.
So tell me a little bit more. I love the fact that you mentioned you hired a mentor. Mentorship is so important. And just like networking, everyone says you need a network, you need a mentor, but no one really tells you how to go about that. So can you tell me a little bit more about that journey for you? How did you approach your mentor? How did you kind of decide what exactly you needed in a mentor to help you get to the place you wanted to go?
Sure. So what I'll do is I'll talk about this on two different aspects. So level of awareness is something that's really big. And it took me a really long time to learn this. So what do I mean by level of awareness is just where you're at mentally in your business journey. So like when I first hired Alex Hormozy as my mentor, I was on level 1. I had 0 skills. I knew nothing about sales, nothing about marketing. I had no business foundation or structure whatsoever. And when I was told the cost of the investment, it was a very uncomfortable amount of money. And looking back, it was just because I had so many limiting beliefs as to what I needed to do to make that happen. And so
you were like holding yourself back is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I'm like, it's like, okay, well, and the sales guy I talked to was a rock star, of course. So he's like, no, you can do this because you're going to make X amount of dollars and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I don't know.
I have a family to feed.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to bite people and I'm going to do it. And the reason why is I'm one of those people that I work the best when my back's against the wall. So a really good saying that I learned from one of my other mentors was that, there's only a plan A. If you make a plan B, you're already mentally planning on plan A to fail.
Oh.
So I work the best when my back's against the wall and I only have a plan A. So it's like, I have to make this work because there's nothing else. I don't have another option. It's like, I have to keep the plate or on the table, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, that was my first kind of uncomfortable feeling when I hired that mentor. And since then, I've had probably 5 or 6 other mentors in my life, but that taught me the power behind having a mentor or coach. And it's always easier. I learned the fastest, as well as a lot of other people. You learn faster when you pay to consult with an expert,
Sure.
right? Because you're paying, you have 2 different types of currencies. We have
Right.
time and we have money. And so when you pay with time, you're never going to get it back. There is no ROI on time.
Right.
Versus when you pay with money, you can always make more money, but never no more time. So that was something that was a really hard lesson for me. But as I began learning from other mentors and stuff like that, it opened up tons and tons of different doors. And so if you look at the aspect of networking, when people say, you need to network, you need to hire coaches and mentors. So when you hire a mentor or a coach, you're also paying for a relationship. So there's been tons of mentors that I've paid to be in their mastermind or a student in their program, but I was paying for a relationship and I didn't know it at the time, but it was not only with that mentor, but it was all of the other people inside that mentor's network. So I've developed tons of friendships and just other opportunities that I would have found if I would have never joined the program.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying about, it was an uncomfortable feeling, it was an uncomfortable conversation, but you kind of did your best to ignore the uncomfortability. Is that a word? Either way, uncomfortability. Because a lot of people say, you grow in uncomfortable times. So I think that's awesome that, you're living proof of it. And, not only that, I just kind of based on some of the research I've done, I understand that the success that you've had with mentors and with coaches is why you're doing what you're doing today. And Elite Academy, like that's ultimately why you're doing what you're doing, because you saw the value, you experienced it firsthand. So can you talk a little bit about kind of what you're doing now? And I we talked a little bit at the beginning about that impressive 3x revenue that you're able to help other businesses do. So tell me a little bit about that process and what y'all do over at Elite Academy.
Sure. So, Elite Academy started as I went through the journey of being an online fitness coach.
Okay.
And so as I was doing that, I was just kind of learning the skills. So
Sure.
It was learning how to market, how to sell. And regardless, at the end of the day, I knew I could get people results, but I didn't know how to get myself out there. So as I was going through that journey, hiring mentors, basically I was just learning the skill sets that I needed to be able to succeed in the online space, because it's different than in person. And so, after about 2 years or so of doing that, I did really well for myself. We started the company as a startup and we grew. And
Nice.
in 2018, I had a lot of people that were reaching out and they were like, hey, can you teach me how to do what it is you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, as in being an online fitness coach, they're like, yeah. And so I started helping some buddies at first, and it was kind of the same story from when I started being an online fitness coach, just people wanting me. And so as they were reaching out, I'm like, sure. I started having more and more people reach out, and it was one of those things, light bulb went off. Like, I should be charging for this.
Right.
And so that's what I started doing. And so at the end of the day, I was running both businesses until the client fulfillment I did not have enough manpower to sustain both businesses myself. So that's when I transferred over and just made that transition. And so now what we do is we help in-person trainers making the transition into the digital landscape. And then, online fitness trainers, our bread and butter is helping those brand new people just learn the skills. and create that business foundation that they're missing. And then we also in 2020, I opened the doors to other coaches and consultants. So I have VIP students that I work with one-on-one, that do, to get in that program, you have to do 75,000 a month plus. And I have several that are videographers, digital marketers, other consultants. But at the end of the day, passion is my fitness. So I'll always help fitness trainers first. But
yeah. So what are some of the foundational ingredients for success when it comes to online businesses? I know your passion in the fitness aspect, so we can definitely talk about that. But it sounds like you're coaching, online business owners from all kind of walks of life. So what are some of those kind of basic foundational practices that you help them figure out, and that's helping them be successful?
Sure. So I'll walk you down the kind of the client or the customer journey then.
Perfect.
So,
yeah.
The first thing is that, you have to establish some kind of business, whether it's an LLC or a DBA of some kind,
Right.
just so that you collect money.
Right.
And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to have some type of payment gateway. So whether it's Stripe, Wave, Square, whatever it may be, get that established. And so after that, a lot of other coaches, and a lot of times us as just entrepreneurs, we go into it thinking we have to have all of this stuff already done before we start getting clients. It's I've got to build this massive website. I have to do all of these things, but you don't. So there's no reason to deal with client fulfillment until you actually have customers, because you're able to grab those clients and then document that into whether it's webinars or video portals, stuff like that. And then you can use that for training purposes. So once you do that, you've got your business established of some kind, you have your payment gateway, and then it's well, how do I get clients? Yeah. And this is where learning that marketing aspect of things comes in. There's one of two ways. There's either organic, which means you're doing all of the manual outreach.
Yep.
Or there's paid traffic. And so if you go into this and you have capital of some kind, you can always dive into paid traffic, because that's going to get you your clients the fastest, of course.
Right.
What I recommend to all my clients that come into my program is that they're not allowed to run paid traffic until they're at least doing $15K a month organically. And the reason why is because I feel like people will use it as a crutch, not knowing the actual business aspect of things. Because what happens if your ads do not convert, or, the economy completely crashes and you have no other paid traffic source? Right. So doing organic is super basic. It's you're using your social media platforms for just genuine conversation and figure out who your target audience is, who your ideal client is. And then that's who you find on your social media platforms. And you just simply create a warm conversation with them.
Yeah.
And that's just the ins and outs. That's literally how I made probably my first $50,000 a month as a fitness coach.
Wow. So truly finding those relevant people on social media, creating a message, personalized message, sending it out, as you, and that's how it starts. That's how it started for you.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Easy enough. I mean, it is a very daunting process, and just the thought of, I have people who are telling me, oh, you should be doing this, or here, an indication of somebody doing something well is being asked by a bunch of people, hey, can I get your help with this, get your help with that? That's almost, that's probably half the battle. Then once you're realizing, oh, I have something here, but there's so many options. There's so many, it's overwhelming and it's very scary. So the fact that you're saying, just start with those one-on-one interactions, really understand who is your audience, really understand what are your skills, how do you want to kind of have those genuine conversations. At first, you don't have to worry about, do I have $25,000 a month to throw at ads? And I don't have a TikTok. I don't have this. I don't have that. Sounds like you don't need all of it at the beginning. It's more about maybe one or two of those factors or kind of ingredients, and then see what kind of moves the needle from there. Hey everyone, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. If you haven't already, why don't you take a second to click follow or subscribe on the platform you're tuning into so that you won't miss a second of Badasses in Tech. Also, if you're really loving what you're hearing today, why don't you drop us a 5-star review or leave us a positive comment, as it really helps the podcast grow and helps us continue doing what we're doing, which is helping people become a badass.
Yeah, exactly that. And, when we first start a business venture of any kind, we have like information overload.
Right.
Into where we get to the point and it's like, we feel like we have to continue to consume more and more information, but the information is not what moves the needle. The implementation is what moves the needle. So it's just like, you have to stop thinking about what it is that you have to do next and just go do it and start somewhere doing something. Right. And so if you're just doing organic stuff, like you don't have to use TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of those things. Like pick one that you're familiar with and then figure out who your target audience is. And now the best way to do that, it's like, what is it that you want to do? What are you passionate about? Figure out that. And then go, what problem can you solve for someone? And whatever that may be, then you think of that person's pain points. It's like, what are they dealing with? What are they having to deal with? And then how are you going to help them? And then you just go and figure out what type of person that is. Are they going to be on Facebook? Are they going to be on LinkedIn? So it's like, if you help busy professionals, I'm going to LinkedIn. If you're going to help between 30 and 50, I'm going to Facebook. If you're going to, you just have to kind of dial it in that way. Think where they would be and then start simply finding that type of person and send them a message. Hey, send them a friend request. And one thing that absolutely killed me like years back was like sending people cold DMs, just like going through like slamming people with cold DMs. There's a way to do it that's like a warmer outreach that works way better. Lean in with genuine curiosity. That's what I've always believed in. And it's like, learn about that person, build a little bit of rapport. And it's like, if it makes sense, great. If it doesn't, no hard feelings. You just simply created a conversation with someone that's now in your network. Like that's
right.
it.
And I think what you're saying, it's almost like dating. It's like you're going to have to warm the person up before you got to take them to dinner first type of thing. You got to like shake their hands and I know a lot of people are, especially now, right? We're in a very tough time. People don't really want to wait. Like they don't want to have to go through the process. It's all about, well, what's going to get me the money like now? So I could see where a lot of people are maybe, skipping all of those foundational things in terms of really building a relationship, asking a question instead of, hey, I'm so-and-so and I can offer you this, that, and the other. Like, do you want to pay me right now? And the other person's like, I don't even know who you are. Like, why don't you ask me my name first? Ask me my sign and my favorite color, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I still, like, the marketplace has shifted a lot in the last probably, several years, especially from when I first started as a fitness coach.
Yeah.
So like 2020, the online space was like booming. Like everyone's revenue that had an online business skyrocketed.
Right.
Now it's kind of gone back the other direction. And this goes back to what I was saying before, like the level of awareness. It always changes. And so I'll have so many people message me now that's like an appointment setter, virtual assistant, stuff like that. And there is no introduction whatsoever. They just literally send me like a 3-paragraph thing. And I'm like, I'm not even reading that. Like, right. I don't even know what it is. I'm not reading it. But versus just that genuine conversation with someone.
Yeah.
And so It's a little different. You just have to find what works for you, I guess, as you're doing it. And it's all about just learning the skill set and the process behind it. Because organic money can be made all the time versus paid ads. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And beginning business, like new business owners, like typically we don't have a ton of money to waste.
Right.
So
Every dollar counts. And
exactly.
this is so refreshing to hear. You don't hear a lot of people promote organic growth as
Right.
much as you hear, here's my 7-step program to paid ads, or, so it's really, it's encouraging. And I know, especially for those folks out there now who maybe they've just recently got laid off, or maybe they're thinking about, I have this passion. I love golf, or I love writing. I love books, but I don't know how to make that, like you said, I don't know how to make that something that I can earn income off of. So in today's kind of world and climate, like you said, it's a little bit different than maybe a few years ago. What are some kind of pivotal pieces of advice, or some of the things that you learned along the way that you would be willing to share with some of those folks in that position?
Sure. So, you know, again, you just have to figure out what it is that you're passionate about or what you do.
Yeah.
So for instance, you mentioned maybe someone that loves golf.
Yeah.
So an example of that would be you can help people improve their golf swing. Okay. And so you could take that two different ways. You could create a simple course that's maybe 12 to 15 videos that you charge $99 for. Or you could do one-on-one mentorship where you actually have one-on-one Zoom calls with this individual, and it requires more of your time. So you charge more money. You might charge $1,000 for a 12-week course for that. Okay. And then that's simply you just recording videos out in your yard of you improving your golf swing from what they're doing wrong to what they should be doing, or what helps you versus what they're missing in their swing type thing. You get creative with it. And
Yeah.
that's how anything is done nowadays. Like you can sell a digital product, you can sell one-on-one coaching. And so for me, the way I would suggest someone starting now, that, and if you're driving, don't do this, but if you're just sitting down, grab paper and pen and write it down.
I love the disclaimer. I love the before we jump in, just got to say,
Right.
love that.
Right. So this is what you do. You need to figure out what it is you're passionate about and what problem you would enjoy solving for someone. Okay. And then think of that type of person that you're going to help. What are their pain points? Like what drives them emotionally? Like what are they dealing with? And I'm not talking about like surface level. I'm talking about get deep down. Like what are they really dealing with? And then jot a list down. After you have that list down, write a solution, how you're going to solve that problem next to it. And then once you have that, figure out what social media platform that type of person might be on. Are they going to be in Facebook groups? Research those groups. Are they going to be on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn? And then go there and look for that type of person. What type of occupation they might be in? And this will help you kind of target them a little better. And now you can go through and take that same list that you just created and create a couple content reels around that problem and the solution, right? And so in 2023, coming into 2024, we are all human that have a very short attention span. So short form content is booming and will continue to boom. So instead of writing a long piece of copy, just write a short form content video, 30 to 60 seconds. And what's going to happen is that they're going to start engaging with you more, and they'll become a raving fan of your audience. And as they do that, you just continue to reach out to that person. Network expansion is huge. Figure out who that audience is. Send them a friend. They accept your request back. Hey, I appreciate you connecting with me. I appreciate you accepting my request. If you ever have any, fitness or health or golf questions or whatever it may be, I'm always here to support you. Reach out. Like,
Oh, I
super,
love that.
right? You're not cold DMing them. It's an opening line of who you are, what you do, and how you can help. And that's it.
And you make this sound so easy, by the way. I'm like, oh, I could do this in my sleep. But actually, no, I know there's a lot more involved in that. But yeah, I love what you're saying. It's like, it doesn't have to be a 3-paragraph, like, here's all about me and why I'm awesome. It's, hey, thanks for acknowledging me. When you're ready, if you find that you need help in this area, I'm your person. I can help you. And it sounds like what you're saying is some of the maybe financial, the part that comes in, that the paid element is the education. It's how can you find your passion, obviously, figure out what are the pain points that those that love that thing or that are dealing with that thing, what are they working on, what's their challenges, but also how can the person make some educational content around that. So I think that's very tactical and practical advice. My one question back to you, because what you're saying about, really know the person, their pain points, and it's like beyond just the surface level. How do you know that if the person is not if you're completely different than your audience that you're targeting? Like, how do you find out really what makes that person tick if you aren't that person or if you don't know?
Sure. So whenever you're creating your avatar or your target audience, wherever it may be, I would almost sometimes be able to relate to that person in some type of way. And the reason why is because the more you know what makes them tick, the more successful you're going to be. And this goes back to that you're paying in time or money type thing. It's going to take a lot longer to move the needle if you're having to consistently do research, because then it comes down to trial and error on what this type of person's dealing with. Now, if you just have a passion to help someone and you can't relate to it at all, then still going through these warm conversations and you're trying to find 4 key elements when you're having that conversation. Do not be robotic when you're talking to them, because they'll immediately be turned down or turned off. Hey, so the 4 key things you're looking for. What's their biggest goal? Okay, what is their desired outcome? And then what have they tried to do that hasn't worked before? Okay. And then how long have they been trying to be able to hit that goal or that desired outcome? And then are they open to external guidance, right? Are they willing? Is there any willingness for external guidance there? Once you figure out those things, then it's like you're checking the boxes. Check, check, check. And yes, they want help. So now let me lean in and offer support and advice. And let's see if, we can at least get them on the phone or a Zoom call, and so they can, understand what I have to offer. And as you have more of these conversations, it's like, okay, what are you currently struggling with? What's your biggest struggle? What's your desired outcome? You'll start learning more about that type of avatar or your target audience. And again, always keep notes, jot them down, document everything you do, because you can refer back to it.
And maybe that could be like those notes that you're writing could be something that you could teach and sell for somebody at some point.
Exactly. Because everything you write down and document, you can always use for content. We struggled a lot. And like I did as well when I first started it, when it comes to content, it's like, what is content? Most of the time people say content, they're thinking, oh, it's like a video, right? But if you create one piece of content, you can typically turn it into about 7 different pieces of content. So if you take one idea, so it's like, I'm going to just use an example. 5 healthy snacks to curb midnight cravings. Okay.
Now I'm already hungry. Now I want a midnight snack.
There you go. So it's like, all right, that's the idea. And so how can I make that into content? Well, first thing I can do is I can write an ebook, right? short 5 pages of each page has the snack on there. And then the second thing I can do, I can create an Instagram carousel swipe file, right? And then I'm going to go and I'm going to make a TikTok video, and I'm going to post that TikTok video on TikTok and Instagram and in Facebook as a reel.
Right.
And then I can also write a piece of long form content for Facebook on it.
Right.
Right. Or
There
maybe
you go.
a podcast about it. You know what I mean? Like there's tons of different pieces of content you can turn into just one idea.
Right. And that goes back to what you were saying about the implementation. You know, it just you don't have to have the perfect idea. Just get an idea, put it out there, see how it resonates, see how you can repurpose it. And at the end of the day, if nothing happens, then at least you learned a lesson, or you learned something. You got something out of it. But if you don't try, if you don't put yourself out there, then you're doing everybody a disservice, because maybe somebody really, really needs what you have to offer. And by just not doing it because it's so daunting, then yeah, you're letting yourself down. You're letting those who need you down. So like I said, you make this sound very easy, but I'm excited for my listeners for that. So that way they're like, you know what? I can do this. I have ideas. I know how to use Instagram. Well, I'm maybe not everybody. I barely know how to use Instagram. Don't even get me started on TikTok, but I'm working on it.
There you go. That's all that matters. As long as you're trying, right? That's all that matters.
Right.
And that, I think that kind of like going back to what you were just saying, I feel like entrepreneurs, you know, people that are just in a 9-to-5 trap, they feel trapped, they want out, but they don't know how to get out. We are always our biggest roadblock is ourselves. And I see it all the time when people come into my program, even into other people's programs, and I still get them from time to time. And it's like the first phase that people hit is that they come in, they have uninformed optimism. They're super excited. They don't know what to expect because it's something new. They dive in, and it's like they're expecting to make $1 million in their first 30 days.
Right.
Days goes by, and they're like, I haven't got a client yet, or I haven't seen any results. They're like, man, maybe this isn't for me. I'm doing a lot of work, but it's not working. Like, I don't think it's for me. So then it's like the imposter syndrome kicks in. I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I should charge this much money. It's just the limiting beliefs, self-doubt overwhelms you. And like statistics show that like 90% of entrepreneurs that start a business quit within the first 6 months because of like the beliefs. So you have to have a positive mindset going into everything. And your mindset will literally crumble your business, or it will propel you to the next level. That's one thing. It's like being able to develop it. And I know everybody's like, well, I don't understand. Like, how do I develop a good mindset?
Right.
So, few tips on developing a good mindset for or for just like personal growth or personal development.
Right. Goal, reaching any goal, right?
Exactly. So it's all about building self-confidence and self-trust first. Okay. So the best way to do that is starting small. You can there's like I think it's called like the 5x5x5 rule for morning routine. And it's like every morning I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do 5 minutes of something spiritual, 5 minutes of physical, and 5 minutes of something mental. And so as you start doing that, the goal behind that is just to do what you're telling yourself you're going to do. Because then you start building that inner self-trust. It's like, nope, I know that when my alarm clock goes off, I'm getting up because it's what I call a non-negotiable. I'm not negotiate with myself about it. It's not optional. I'm getting up when the alarm goes. And so as you start doing that over and over and over, you start building that self-trust. And then it's like, okay, how do I develop my mindset around that? How can I use that to my advantage? And it's like just stacking those small wins throughout the day. It's like, okay, got up when I said I was going to get up. I
Check.
did this, check. Exactly. I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to journal, or I'm going to read a book. I'm going to do whatever. It's like you're checking off the list. So it starts to compound internally. And so something that took me a really long time to learn is that, happiness doesn't come from the external. It doesn't come from cars, money, clothes, houses, watches. It's built internal. And so when you learn to fulfill whatever purpose you have internally, then everything else externally will eventually come to you.
I love that. I love that. And you're right. I mean, the 5x5 or kind of those small things. If you say, I want to make my bed in the morning every morning, and you do it, then you're like, oh, I can trust myself. And if I can do that every day, if I can stick to that commitment, then I'm sure I can reach out to 15 people on LinkedIn every day for the next week. Oh, okay. If I do that and I show myself that works, then maybe I'll have a conversation with 2 of those people. Oh, and then maybe one of those people will end up paying me. So I could totally see how that mindset and really just the self-trust, I've never heard it kind of being articulated like that, but it does. It makes a lot of sense. And so would you say that's kind of like step one if for folks who are trying to really kick off maybe a side hustle or start their entrepreneurial journey, really just, start small and really start to prove to yourself that no matter what you're putting your mind to, you can do it.
Definitely. Yes. I would definitely say that, whether it's like a morning routine or some type of habit, create. And so I call them non-negotiables, which means I'm negotiating with myself at all about it. Create something like yourself that's non-negotiable. And then just kind of, it's all about those 1 degree shifts, right? We get overwhelmed. We see the long goal. So create very, very short goals for yourself. And it's like, you know what, this week I'm getting up at this time every day, no matter what. And then once you do that, and it's like, next week, let's add something. And then the week after that, something. And then so we're slowly progressing without overwhelming ourselves with some huge task. And it's like, oh, there's no way I can't do that. I'm not doing that. And then so we just back together instead of making any shift toward the goal at all.
That makes so much sense. And like you're saying, I can't remember the stat you said, 90%, maybe it was 90% of folks who want to start something, they end up not doing it. Because if you're like, oh, I just want to start a company, well, that's huge. That's a huge goal. But if you're like, what you were talking about, I want to build a list of people that might be potential clients. And then from there, I'm going to reach out to a certain amount of them every day. Like, that is much more attainable. It all makes sense. It makes so much sense what you're saying. And like I said, I haven't heard it be articulated in the way that you're describing it. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Dustin, it's been so awesome talking with you. I feel like I could talk to you about this all day long. And you're very passionate. It's just like coming through the screen here. But I'm curious, before we wrap, what's next for you? What can we kind of stay tuned for Dustin? We talked a lot about kind of what got you from there to now. So what's next for you?
Oh, what's next for me? So I'm just going to grow and scale my business. I'm going to try and speak at a few more events this coming up year. And
nice.
Then hopefully finishing my book soon in the near future, which will be awesome.
Yeah.
That's going to be really cool. And, I just continue to reach the next level. That's it. That's it. The next level, whether it's, I might max out to where my bandwidth is ran dry for this business. I might start a new business. I don't know. It's like, there is no ceiling. I never put a ceiling to what it is that I'm going to do next.
That's awesome. And yeah, the fact that, I mean, for me personally, being the CEO or co-founder or anything with such a kind of high regard, a lot of people might think that that's like the end goal. But it's inspiring to hear you're very successful CEO, multiple companies. You're like, no, I'm not done. Like, I have nothing but more to accomplish. So it's cool to hear. It's inspiring that you've reached like this pinnacle of growth in so many people's minds, but you're still in your mind, you have so much that you're wanting to continue to do. So that's very cool. Where can people find you? Where can people maybe who are interested in some of these coaching programs or, maybe reading your book when it comes out, where can our listeners keep in touch with you?
Sure. So the best way would just be straight through Facebook. I'm pretty active on Facebook all the time. I still respond to all of my messages on Facebook personally. So that would be the best place, just Dustin Lash. And other than that, like if you want to go to my website, you can check it out, dustinlash.com. That's pretty much it. I'm super down to earth person, love chatting, even if you just want to network and just kind of talk. Maybe I can help you through something or support you on something you're currently going through in your journey. And I'll be definitely down to do that.
You've been listening to Badasses in Tech. This original content is brought to you by Growth Stack Media. If you're eager to take your brand or business to the next level through podcast creation, video production, or public relations support, we've got you covered. Visit growthstackmedia.com today to book a free consultation, or feel free to reach out through our contact details listed in the show description. That's all for today, but stay tuned for more exciting episodes on the horizon. Until then, I'm Summer Mitchell, and this is Badasses in Tech.